So politics is actually quite easy because, at least in America, the vast majority of our country, half of it loves someone like Donald Trump. Half of it loves someone like Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or whatever, right? But what neither party realizes is that both people are fucking disgusting human beings. Both options are absolute creeps, liars, hypocrites, just the scum of the earth, literally. But millions and millions of people think they're amazing, think they're saviors, they're great leaders, they're inspirational heroes, they're all these different things, right? So what I take that as, well, what does that imply? What does that say about that person? It's kind of like if you meet someone on a first date, right? And all they tell you about is how all of their exes were abusive, malicious, sociopaths, psychopaths, whatever. And you're like, wow, all of your exes are those things? What does that say about you then? Okay, well, I'm out of here because I'm not really wanting to get into this situation, because at the end of the day, if you roll with pigs, you're going to get shit on you. It's just at the end of the day, that's just a fact of life, right? So, but I don't think many people have necessarily taken it to that degree. If millions and millions of people, 3/4 of the country, whatever, are worshiping these complete, degenerate, disgusting human beings, what does that say about the population? Furthermore, if you say that population, statistically speaking, most people are only operating on like about a 7th grade level of comprehension, meaning how we comprehend and understand information most of the time, obviously not all the time and not exclusively, but a lot of the time is through the language that we're using, which how we do that is through reading and writing and speaking. So if you can read and write at a low level, that means you can only pretty much understand ideas and express yourself in that level. It's kind of like a person writing a PhD level thesis in complexity of ideas is not the same person that just graduated 7th grade. There's obviously a difference in comprehension, and there's a difference in efficiency of using the language, and a difference in the complexity of ideas that they can possibly even entertain, not even necessarily understand, but just even hear or entertain, right? So we have these two factors, and this is the vast majority of our population, and then people are surprised that things are the way they are. And people think we really live in the greatest time ever to be alive, which in, of course, yes, many ways compared to the last few hundred years, we've made a lot of improvements. But at the same time, if we look at who we actually are as people, just looking at the politic example, I think there's probably still a long ways to go. And if we start getting into like the mental health world or the healing world or the spiritual world, it gets way worse, way more quickly. And way more like straight 1984, where most of what people are construing as progress is actually mental illness. Most of what people are construing as being spiritual is actually the exact opposite. It's some facet of their fight or flight response, or some aspect of the lowest, most base primal aspects of their organism. But they're saying that's the highest and the most transcendental, which is sad, tragic, terrible. If you think millions and millions of people were taking the most lowest, trivial, basic aspects and thinking they're transcendental things. They're taking things like basic morality, basic conscience, basic self-awareness, basic responsibility, basic levels of just being a normal, functional human being. And they're saying, oh, these are spiritual. This is part of the spiritual path. No, it's part of just being a human being. Like, it should be. Like, you should be able to navigate your life somewhat comfortably and easily. You should have some awareness for what you actually think and feel and why, and who you actually are as a person. The fact that that's somehow like a high-minded, progressive idea is, again, we have to ask, what does that imply about the person? And why would they be arriving in that thing? And then usually where people go is some complicated word salad of trauma, patriarchy, healing the shadow, a dozen different variations of a dozen different lenses and ideas and theories and concepts from therapy and psychoanalysis and however many of those things. And they just develop this whole complicated, ridiculous thing to explain something that's quite simple, quite actionable, quite tangible the vast majority of the time. But because they're so mired in confusion and so accustomed to mental tension, then what feels comfortable is obviously just more mental tension. But that's not actually progress. That's just more mental tension, which is more crap they have to carry around and defend and justify and rationalize and analyze and blah, 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 which is just more of the same, which is just them being more divorced from the basic facets of their reality as a human being. So people think, oh, this is the greatest time ever to be alive. In terms of, technology and comfort of living, for a standard of living for a lot of people, we've made a lot of progress. And if you like new toys and gadgets in terms of computers, then for sure. But in many other facets of life, it's actually a complete dark age. And in terms of spirituality on the planet, it's an absolute dark age. It's the Kali Yuga. In terms of human level, it's pretty low. And if people are thinking it's high and amazing and number one, again, that makes me really feel kind of bad and say, wow, what does that imply about the person? Just like the same person that's like, oh, Trump, oh, Hillary, all these things. I'm like, ooh. I mean, I understand we're all products of our environment. We're products of the information that we have access to. But like, if you're going to have such a strong emotional investment in something, wouldn't you at least want to do any due diligence or homework or double check your work? But the answer is no. Because why? Because I saw it on TV, and obviously it's true, and all these people around me think and feel the same, so obviously it must be true. And then you're going to tell yourself, no, I'm an advanced, intelligent, rational, modern human being. No, at the end of the day, you're slightly above an ape, and you're just as tribal, and you're actually you do have absolutely have the potential for all these higher functions and faculties, but you're literally not using it. You're just existing in confirmation bias, chasing stimulation after stimulation, internally and externally, and then telling yourself that it's something different than what it actually is.